Imagine a quiet 10-year-old girl who never expected to wear a crown, yet suddenly inherited a massive global empire. She navigated the terrifying devastation of world wars, endured profound family heartbreak in the public eye, and ultimately became the single most recognized woman on Earth. Welcome to Learning English with Rassa. The year is 1936. Elizabeth is a young girl expecting a highly private life in the countryside. But suddenly, her uncle, King Edward VIII, makes a choice that sends shockwaves through history. He abdicates the throne to marry a divorced woman. Imagine the heavy silence in the palace hallways when that announcement was made. This completely unprecedented turn of events thrusts Elizabeth's father into the role of king, placing this quiet 10-year-old directly in the line of succession. Her days of simple childhood games are instantly replaced by rigorous lessons, forcing her to study towering stacks of books on constitutional law and the crushing weight of royal duty.
Fast forward to 1945. The dark clouds of World War II are heavily gathered over Britain, and the terrifying sounds of the Blitz echo through the night. Elizabeth, now a teenager, refuses to just hide safely behind thick palace walls. Instead, she joins the Auxiliary Territorial Service, trading her fine silk dresses for a heavy military uniform to serve her nation. She undergoes grueling training as a military mechanic and truck driver. Picture a future queen with her hands covered in dark oil and grease, learning to rebuild heavy engines and drive massive transport vehicles. She worked shoulder to shoulder with the British people during their absolute darkest hours.
Amidst the difficult rebuilding of a fractured world, a quiet romance blossoms. Elizabeth falls deeply in love with Prince Philip, a handsome naval cadet. However, Philip comes from a highly complex, impoverished background. His family had been exiled, and he lacked a kingdom or massive wealth of his own. Because of this, many senior royal advisors push back, firmly claiming he is not the right fit to stand beside a future queen. Yet, Elizabeth remains entirely resolute in her decision. She knows her own heart and refuses to be swayed. In 1947, they marry in a breathtaking ceremony, creating a partnership that will bravely endure the harsh tests of time.
In 1952, a tranquil trip to Kenya shatters her world. Deep in the African wilderness, high in a quiet wooden lodge, she receives devastating news. Her beloved father has passed away. In that singular, breathless moment, a 25-year-old woman becomes the queen. Hours later, she descends the steep steps of her airplane back in London. Dressed in heavy, restrictive black mourning clothes, she carries an unimaginable, profound grief. Yet, as she steps onto the tarmac, she makes an unwavering promise. She solemnly pledges that her entire life, whether long or short, will be completely devoted to the service of her people.
The crown brings immense, unrelenting responsibility. Across the following decades, she masters the highly delicate art of global diplomacy, holding pivotal meetings with over 170 world leaders. She navigates incredibly complex, high-stakes relationships, including a notoriously tense dynamic with Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. At the very heart of her international influence are the grand state banquets. Here she must enforce a flawless, rigid royal protocol. Imagine memorizing thousands of rules for how to greet, seat, and speak to different cultures. Every detail is meticulously planned to maintain international respect, right down to the menu. Foods like garlic and shellfish are strictly banned, ensuring absolutely no digestive disruptions ruin these critical diplomatic events. Life inside the fortified palace walls is not immune to disaster. The year 1992 brings a crashing wave of intense public sorrow, a period she famously calls her Annus Horribilis. It is a deeply tumultuous year that sees the painful, highly publicized collapse of 3 of her children's marriages, including that of Prince Charles and Princess Diana. As if the heavens themselves were mirroring the severe structural fracture of her own family, a devastating fire rips through her deeply beloved Windsor Castle. The roaring flames and the endless tabloid scandals aggressively threaten to break the monarchy itself. Through it all, she bears the crushing weight of tragedy with immense, quiet grace. When Princess Diana tragically passes away, the Queen speaks to a shattered, angry nation not just as a monarch, but as a grieving grandmother. Years later, when she loses her husband Philip after 73 years of devoted marriage, the entire world watches her sit completely alone, masked in black, in a quiet church chapel. She remains entirely stoic in her intense mourning. She once profoundly observed, "Grief is the price we pay for love." That sentiment echoed deeply through the silent wooden pews as she bid a final farewell to her greatest strength. Finally, in 2022, amidst the peaceful, sunlit green hills of the Scottish Highlands at Balmoral Castle, the Queen's extraordinary 70-year reign gently comes to a close. She passes away at the age of 96. Through a rapidly changing century of technological explosions and political upheaval, she remained the steadfast anchor for her nation and the world. She leaves behind a historical legacy of service, duty, and quiet resilience that will never be forgotten. Now, to truly understand the depth of this extraordinary journey, we must master the precise language used to describe it.
Welcome to our Vocabulary Masterclass. Let's dive into our very first word, unprecedented. The American pronunciation is unprecedented. It describes something that has never happened or been experienced before. If we look closely at its roots, it comes from the prefix un, meaning not, and precede, meaning to go before. Now, it's vital to catch the distinction here. While the word unparalleled means nothing is equal to it in quality, unprecedented specifically focuses on time. It means there is absolutely no historical prior example.
Let's examine how this powerful adjective functions in context. Our first example is, the king's decision to abdicate for love was an unprecedented event in modern royal history. Notice how it's used in this next sentence to describe her unique childhood. She faced an unprecedented media focus as a 10-year-old heir. And finally, see how it describes a political situation. An unprecedented constitutional crisis required calm leadership. In each example, the adjective modifies a noun to highlight the sheer shock and total lack of historical comparison for her uncle suddenly giving up the throne.
Our second word is grueling. Listen closely to the first syllable, grueling. Go ahead and say it out loud with me, grueling. This adjective describes an experience that is extremely tiring and demanding. Its origin actually traces back to the old word gruel, referring to a harsh, thin porridge given to prisoners, symbolizing a severe punishment. We must carefully distinguish it from the word exhausting. A long walk in the park can certainly be exhausting, but grueling implies a prolonged, punishing physical or mental test of endurance.
Let's read our first sentence together. The young princess endured grueling training as a military mechanic. Moving to the next sentence, rebuilding heavy engines proved to be a grueling task, but she never quit. Think about why rebuilding heavy engines fits this definition perfectly. It requires immense physical strength and endurance. And our final example, the grueling schedule of war prepared her for the heavy demands of the crown. Observe how perfectly grueling captures the intense, punishing nature of her World War II service.
Moving to our third word, resolute. The American pronunciation is resolute. It means admirably purposeful, determined, and unwavering. The word derives from the Latin resolutus, meaning to untie or release, which eventually evolved to mean making a firm decision to finally settle a difficult matter. Contrast this with stubborn or inflexible. Someone who is stubborn is often viewed negatively, refusing to change their mind out of spite. Resolute, however, implies a noble, highly principled determination. It is a profound character strength.
Let's explore these examples. Our first sentence highlights her relationship. Despite the advisor's objections, she remained resolute in her decision to marry Philip. In our second example, we see it applied to her character as a whole. The Queen's resolute character guided her through early political challenges. And finally, he admired her resolute commitment to following her own heart. You can see how resolute beautifully captures her firm, noble decision to marry the man she deeply loved, completely regardless of outside political pressure.
Our fourth word is unwavering. The American pronunciation is unwavering. It means continuing in a strong and steady way, without faltering or losing purpose. If we look at the structure, the imagery relates to a wave in the ocean, moving violently back and forth. The prefix un negates this, meaning it stands completely still and firm. Have you ever tried to stand still in the ocean as waves crash against you? It takes deep internal strength. While constant just means occurring continuously, unwavering implies this immense internal strength against intense outside pressure.
Let's read these examples carefully. First, upon her father's death, she made an unwavering promise to serve her nation. Notice the strong pairing of words here, unwavering promise. Moving on, her unwavering dedication defined her 7 decades on the throne. And lastly, through personal loss, she displayed an unwavering sense of duty. This beautiful adjective directly connects to that heavy, lifelong promise she made stepping off the airplane from Kenya at just 25 years old.
Word number 5 is diplomacy. The American pronunciation is diplomacy.
This noun refers to the profession, activity, or skill of managing international relations, typically by a country's representatives abroad. It uniquely originates from the Greek diploma, which referred to folded official state papers. Over time, dealing with these critical papers evolved into the broader concept of managing state affairs carefully. It is crucial to distinguish this from politics. Politics often involves aggressive campaigning to gain power, whereas diplomacy focuses on highly sensitive negotiation and maintaining peaceful relationships.
Consider this first scenario. The Queen utilized brilliant diplomacy during her meetings with world leaders. Next, observe this context. Her quiet diplomacy often smoothed tensions between competing nations. Finally, managing a difficult prime minister required endless patience and careful diplomacy. Notice the adjectives paired with the word here: brilliant, quiet, and careful. These sentences demonstrate exactly how she used diplomacy to navigate highly complex interactions.
Our sixth word is protocol. The American pronunciation is protocol. Protocol is the official procedure or strict system of rules governing affairs of state or diplomatic occasions. It comes from the Greek protokolon, which was the very first leaf glued to a manuscript detailing its contents. While rules are just general guidelines for everyday life, protocol carries the massive weight of state and tradition. It represents a highly formal, uncompromising system of behavior required in official contexts. In our first example, we revisit the banquets. Royal protocol strictly dictated the menu for all state banquets. Moving to the next sentence regarding her wardrobe, she wore bright colors so the public could see her, establishing her own visual protocol. Notice how the third sentence uses a specific phrase. Breaking protocol was considered a serious offense at the palace. These examples help us deeply grasp how strict protocol dictated everything in her life, from choosing bright clothing to banning garlic at the dinner table.
Word number 7 is tumultuous. The American pronunciation is tumultuous. Take a moment to say it out loud. Tumultuous. It means making a loud, confused noise or experiencing a period of intense confusion and disorder. The root is the Latin tumultus, meaning a violent uproar or disturbance. Unlike chaotic, which implies total randomness and a complete lack of order, tumultuous carries the specific, heavy feeling of intense emotional upheaval and stormy, dramatic conflict.
Let's read these sentences dynamically. First, the tumultuous events of 1992 deeply damaged the royal family's stability. Next, after 3 marriages collapsed, it was the most tumultuous year of her reign. And finally, she navigated the tumultuous period with quiet, measured grace. Notice how using this high-level adjective instantly elevates the sophistication of your English vocabulary. Instead of simply saying she had a bad year, using tumultuous perfectly captures the intense emotional and structural damage she experienced.
Our 8th word is stoic. The American pronunciation is stoik. A stoic person is someone who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. The etymology is truly fascinating. It traces back to the ancient Greek philosophy of Stoicism. Imagine ancient philosophers teaching deep wisdom on the beautifully painted porch in the busy markets of Athens. Importantly, being stoic does not mean being emotionless. An emotionless person feels absolutely nothing inside, whereas a stoic person feels grief deeply, but bravely chooses to endure it quietly. Let's walk through these examples with the quiet respect they deserve. Reflecting on our story, the Queen remained incredibly stoic while sitting alone at her husband's funeral. Moving to her public impact, her stoic nature provided a comforting anchor for a grieving nation. And finally, she faced the tragedy with a stoic silence, keeping her deepest pain private. Notice how perfectly this relates to her solitary, deeply dignified grieving process. Our 9th word is steadfast. The American pronunciation is steadfast. It means resolutely or dutifully firm and unwavering. The word is a brilliant Old English combination of stede, meaning a physical place, and fast, meaning firmly fixed, so you are firmly fixed in your place. While being loyal simply means showing firm support to a friend, steadfast emphasizes the immense physical and mental endurance of staying securely anchored through time and severe difficulty, just like a heavy iron anchor holding a ship in a storm. Here are our examples. First, throughout 7 decades of global change, she remained a steadfast leader. Next, the people relied on her steadfast presence during times of profound national crisis.
And our final example for this word, her steadfast commitment to the Commonwealth preserved vital international alliances. These beautifully crafted sentences explain how her steadfast nature anchored the entire monarchy through a century of rapid, dizzying global change.
Finally, our 10th word is legacy. The American pronunciation is legacy. A legacy is something handed down from the past, or the long-lasting impact of a person's life and actions. It originates from the Latin legatus, meaning a person officially appointed or bequeathed. It is vastly distinct from an inheritance, which is usually physical wealth, money, or property. A legacy represents the enduring, intangible footprint left upon history. It is the memory and the moral impact you leave in the minds of others after you are gone.
Let's review our final examples. First, Queen Elizabeth left behind a profound legacy of dedication and service. Next, looking to the future, her historical legacy will be studied by generations to come. And finally, building a legacy of unity was her ultimate triumph. These sentences beautifully solidify the word's connection to the Queen's permanent historical footprint on the world. Congratulations on completing this rigorous 10-word masterclass. Excellent work. Let's methodically recap our vocabulary, connecting these words directly back to our story to lock them into your memory. We began with the unexpected abdication. Do you remember the word for a completely shocking, first-of-its-kind event? That's right, unprecedented. It altered her destiny forever. We then explored her military training. What word described that physically punishing nature? It was grueling. Next, we saw her purposeful determination to marry Philip against the odds, a truly resolute decision. And upon becoming queen, she made that rock-steady promise to serve her people, an unwavering commitment. Finally, we examined the highly skilled management of international relations she utilized every single day, her brilliant diplomacy. Continuing our thoughtful review, we looked at the strict official rules governing her state banquets and wardrobe. That uncompromising system is called protocol. We then witnessed the chaotic and deeply painful events of her family crises in 1992, a highly tumultuous period. Yet she remained completely brave, enduring immense grief at her husband's funeral without outward complaint. She was deeply stoic. Through 70 years, she was firmly anchored against the changing tides of time, making her a steadfast leader. Ultimately, she cemented a permanent historical footprint, an enduring legacy of service that will inspire for centuries. Let's turn to our idiom masterclass. Today's idiom is weather the storm. To weather the storm means to successfully deal with a very difficult problem or survive a highly dangerous situation without being destroyed by it. The origin is strictly nautical. When a large ship faces a violent tempest at sea, the crew cannot always sail away. Instead, they must lower the sails, steer directly into the howling wind, and endure the violent beating of the waves and the loud creaking of the wood until the dark sky finally clears. This perfectly symbolizes the Queen's journey. From the terrifying devastation of World War II to the tumultuous collapse of her children's marriages, she didn't panic or run away. She weathered the storm, surviving intense public and private crises without breaking. Now, it's your turn to practice. I want you to apply this powerful idiom to your own life. Think of a recent challenge you faced, perhaps at work, during a highly difficult university exam period, or in your personal life. How did you endure it? Form a complete sentence in your mind using weather the storm. For example, you might say, "My company had a difficult financial year, but we managed to weather the storm." Or, "The final exam week was exhausting, but I weathered the storm and passed." Take a moment. Construct your sentence now. As we wrap up our explainer today, I leave you with a final, profound question to consider. Queen Elizabeth dedicated her entire life to building a legacy of service and steadfast duty to her people. What legacy do you wish to leave behind in your own community? Think deeply about the impact of your daily choices. To continue mastering your English and to actively discuss your answers with fellow learners, I warmly invite you to join our growing community on Telegram at Fluent Mind. Thank you for dedicating your time to learning today. Keep practicing, stay resolute in your goals, and I will see you next time.